Welcome to another episode of Project Geekology. This is episode 76, and we are going to be covering Lilo and Stitch. Or is that Lilo and Stitch? I am one half of your host, Anthony, and joining me as always is...
Dakota. I would personally pronounce it Lilo and Stitch, but I have heard it pronounced Lilo and Stitch by people in the know, so I don't know. I guess it's up to you guys.
Right, it's a very small niche group of people who go by that pronunciation.
But very vocal group.
Very vocal group, a loud minority.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Lilo and Stitch because, you know, ohana means podcast, and podcast means everyone's got to listen. So I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into what I think is one of the best Disney animated movies. Whenever I rewatch this, I'm just like, wow, this is a really strong film. And I'm just excited to discuss about all the different times within the movie that I just broke down in tears. Because it's also extremely sad. As a kid, I didn't think this was a sad movie at all. But as an adult, I can just feel the the pain of all the characters in just a much more pronounced way. Before we get ahead of ourselves, we have to, go through the motions of the podcast. Anthony, what have you been up to this past week?
Man, I've got a lot of Persona to talk about.
Oh, gosh. How did I know? How did I know?
No, just kidding. Well, it was, kind of nice being able to hop back and watch Lilo and Stitch. I haven't seen it as a kid, so I went and I did that last night. And
wait, you haven't seen it as a kid, or you haven't seen it since you were a kid?
No, I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Okay.
It's been a long time. Yeah, it's one of those movies that it's it's a good movie, but it's not something that you go to all the time,
right.
Or at least I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a nice little watch. And well, okay, so I have hopped onto this game. I don't know if you've ever played it before. It's a little bit in your wheelhouse because it's a gacha game. But, dude, I know you like your gachas. Have you ever played the game Tower of Fantasy?
No, I haven't. I haven't even heard of it.
So it's kind of like a Genshin Impact type game, but it's made by a different company. And I had started it, it's been out for a while now. I started it a little bit ago when it first came out, but I really just never pressed, or I never really stuck with it. So what got me into playing it this time around is that they have a crossover with Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh, your latest obsession.
So
naturally,
well, I guess my latest re-obsession, because I used to really, really like it years ago.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, not that I don't, but not that I stopped liking it, but it was just something that
everybody goes through waves of things that they're into.
Right.
Yeah. I just call whatever I'm what my focus is within whatever fandom I'm pursuing. That's my latest obsession, because I've been into the MonsterVerse before, but now I'm very deeply into the MonsterVerse again, and that's my latest obsession. But I'm getting ready to dive into my next big obsession. So anyway, go ahead.
Nice. So yeah, I finally got to the part in Tower of Fantasy where I could actually play some. There's they have a little storyline that it includes Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's really interesting because there's a part you get to a part where the city that is kind of central to this section of the game, it's under attack by something. They don't know what it is, and so there's large beam gets blown into the city. It's called I think Maria or something like that. So you go outside and it's it's this ginormous angel. That's the name of the enemies in Neon Genesis Evangelion. They're called angels, but they're these not robots. They're not robots. They are these organic beings, but they have these fields that they put up. But I digress. But it's really cool because you get separated with some of your people, and like while you're trying to locate one of them, you have this like massive battle that's going on in the background, and you see Shinji and like Evil One fighting this angel, and it's like insane. It's like, oh my gosh, you're like running to like find this person, you're fighting things along the way, but you have these like massive beings like in the background just like duking it out. It's insane.
It's awesome.
But it's pretty cool. Yeah, I enjoy it.
So wait, is it like Genshin Impact, the gameplay style, or is it more gacha? What do you think?
I would say it's very, very similar to Genshin.
Okay.
But Genshin and this game, I mean, they're very strong in the gacha.
They have strong gacha elements for sure. Yeah.
They have strong gacha elements, and this game is no different. Except Genshin Impact is more. It kind of feels more fantasy, whereas Tower of Fantasy is more kind of sci-fi-ish.
Man, they got their names mixed up.
They really did. Genshin Impact would actually probably have been a better name for
Tower of Fantasy.
yeah, but no, it's cool, like being able to go and mess with that and kind of, I sometimes I get into gacha games, but I don't really get too deep into them. I had played Genshin Impact for a little while, but then I fell out of it. I might hop back on it.
Is Genshin Impact still a thing? Like, is there still an audience for it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. And the voice actors, they still make their rounds.
Oh, sick. Okay. Maybe I'll get back into that. I've only played it on mobile. Do you recommend playing it on... Because I know it's like on PlayStation and stuff.
It might be a better experience for you because mobile is usually limited when it comes to graphical power.
Right.
And you could play it on PS5, which runs at like a pretty high frame rate.
Yeah,
so,
okay. Well, maybe I'll give it a shot again.
So it might be better, and I think you should be able to... I'm pretty sure that there's crossplay between what you had on mobile and PS5. So whatever progress you made on mobile, you'll be able to...
Honestly, it's been so long. It's been literal years. I have no idea what the story is or who the characters I own are. So I might as well just restart. But yeah,
it has been a little while. Maybe not as long as you, but it's been a while for me. But yeah, no, that's definitely... something that's a little interesting. I mean, it was interesting, kind of hopping on and playing that.
Have you watched anything else besides Lilo and Stitch, basically, or you just been playing games recently?
Well, I've been pushing through One Piece. I'm on like another One Piece kick. I'll watch like a whole bunch of One Piece, and then like I'll take a break to watch other anime.
Nice.
So right now, yeah, I'm closing in on 200 episodes now.
Only got 900 more to go.
I know, yeah, because
I think there are 1100 now.
Yeah.
So.
I think before when I started, they hadn't cracked. They had cracked 1,000 already.
Yeah,
but like I don't think that they had reached the 100 mark yet. But now,
that's recent, I think. But anyway, yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, no, it's been nice, man. How about I know that you said that you were thinking about hopping back on that.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive back into both the manga and the anime. I just think it's such a great universe, and everyone that I've like actually heard who's completed or at least caught up, or is like mostly caught up with One Piece, will say that it's like one of the best fantasy series ever written. So I'm excited to actually experience that for myself. Yeah, what else have I been up to? Godzilla Kong: The New Empire came out.
Yes, I have not gone to see that, but how is it?
I actually really liked it. Yeah, it's on the shorter end. I think it is the shortest of the MonsterVerse movies, like a little less than 2 hours, but it's a very strong 2 hours, if that makes sense. I mean, the human elements are weak. I would say that's kind of the weakest bit of the movie, but like what they were capable of doing with the giant monsters and like the lore surrounding them and creating this beef within between characters we've just met and characters we've known for a long time. I think they captured something really cool with Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. I think they really were able to maximize their budget for the story that they wanted to tell, because it's a smaller budget for like a blockbuster movie. I think they clocked in at 135 million for the cost of the production. That's not including any of the promotional stuff, obviously. Like they spent a lot on promotion. I'm pretty sure they more than doubled whatever they cost in production. But what they were able to do with like maximizing like production costs was that they pretty much made a whole movie about CGI monsters. You know, like when you see Godzilla or Kong Skull Island, there are long portions where the monsters aren't on screen. You know, like you have Godzilla doesn't show up until an hour into the first movie. You know, like it's not like that in this at all. Like it's literally like it starts with a monster battle, it ends with a monster battle. So there's a lot of screen time for just big monsters in general, and that's kind of what you come for. You know, you want to see monsters explode each other. So I'm as a monster fan, as a Titan fan, and a MonsterVerse fan, I'm a happy camper. Yeah, I've seen it twice now, actually. I really liked it.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I hate talking.
Do you love talking about any topic and are never frustrated during conversations? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if there are topics that you avoid, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know the definition of every word others use? I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you are curious about the definition and historical usage of words, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know about current events and other random topics? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you enjoy conversations on a variety of topics, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Listen to I Hate Talking wherever you get your podcasts.
Episodes drop every Thursday. Listen, like, and follow I Hate Talking today.
And so you watched it for not only yourself but for me, pretty much.
Yeah, so I'll give you all of my notes. I also read the novelization. I'm gonna give you all my notes about that and send it your way. Yeah, no, I recommend it. I had a really fun time with it.
Yeah, I'll probably go and see it this weekend then.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, don't expect like the best movie you've ever seen, but expect to have a fun time. You know, like it's just
no. If I want to go see that, then I'll go see Godzilla -1 again.
Yeah, or Dune Part 2. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess as far as like a monster film, I'll go and see Godzilla -1 again.
Yes. What's great about covering Lilo and Stitch this week is that we get to continue discussing monsters. It's except Stitch is a very small monster. You know, he's a genetically modified creature who's called a monster throughout the movie, and I kept thinking like, man, we're gonna talk about another monster movie.
I mean, he's called a monster, and he was created by aliens that humans would consider them monsters too. Essentially, like it's monsters creating a monster.
Yes, yeah. We'll get into that and more in just a couple minutes. Oh, have I done anything else? I don't think I've actually done anything else. I've been working like a madman.
I know you've been catching up on stuff that you didn't have time to really like watch or.
Oh yeah, I've been watching some Bad Batch. I'm catching up on that. I'm still behind by like several weeks, but I'm excited to jump back into the grind with that. I think as of today, they just released a 2-part episode, or the 2 episodes out today. So I'm sure there's something big that's happening this week that I'm just like not caught up with. But yeah, all right, I think that's it for me. You want to start talking about Lilo and Stitch?
Yes, my favorite. Lilo and Stitch. It's really interesting that you decided to talk about, that you decided to want to talk about it, because you're the one that suggested it, because this is that movie that, Stitch is I feel like Stitch is a popular character, but that the film itself isn't talked about a lot. I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've gone to the Disney parks plenty of times throughout your life. Stitch merchandise is everywhere. Like in every store, you're going to find Stitch pins, Stitch plushies. The reason I actually, we were, brainstorming what we were going to cover last week. And the reason I even came up with Lilo and Stitch was because I looked over at my bookshelf and there's like a plush of Stitch on the shelf there. That's how I came to that conclusion. And I'm just like, wait, we can discuss Lilo and Stitch. So I'm just gonna go with that. I'm just gonna go with Lilo and Stitch for the rest of the podcast, just to annoy that one person who's listening. But yeah, he as a character is everywhere within kind of Disney iconography these days, and he himself is a merch powerhouse. So it's kind of crazy that the film that he is based on isn't talked about all that often. But I think it will soon enough, because Disney's doing a live action Lilo and Stitch movie.
Oh, that's right.
So we shall see how well that, is translated to the, I guess, live action screen. But yeah, we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, they've got some shoes to fill as far as that, because I mean, when you do look back, it is a really good film, and I feel like the reason why it probably isn't talked about is that to me it's not a typical Disney movie. It's different. It's a lot different.
Yes.
That movie was definitely an experiment, and I mean it paid off because it a lot of people enjoy it. But yeah, it's like one of those ones that it's kind of like in hindsight, but not something that's talked about a lot. Like, maybe a lot of the Disney princess movies are ones that are usually, kept in the forefront.
Yeah, it came out in 2002, which was after that period of Disney's Renaissance. Like the 90s leading up to maybe like 97-ish was kind of like the golden age for Disney movies, like from like Little Mermaid in the 80s to maybe just before Hercules would probably be like their huge Renaissance period. And then Lilo and Stitch came a couple years after, and not that it fell through the cracks, because I'm pretty sure it did well for whatever they were gearing up for, box office wise. But yeah, like you said, it's not classic Disney. It doesn't have that memorability. I'm saying the word right, but you're not gonna see Lilo and Stitch in like a Disney fireworks show, like you will for Moana or Frozen or Little Mermaid. You're not gonna see that, and I think the big reason is that it's not a musical. There's no musical elements, although there is music in it. You have Elvis. There's a couple of Elvis songs that play throughout the movie, and that's actually like
Elvis is like pretty
heavily
prevalent in this movie. That's the soundtrack. It's Elvis.
Yes, which is fun. It definitely it gives the film a vibe for sure. And then you have,
I forgot about that. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot there's so much Elvis in this movie.
And there's two songs sung by Hawaiians. There's one that's the Hawaiian roller coaster ride, which I love that song, Hawaiian roller coaster ride. Whenever I'm like driving into Disney World, that's the song I put on as I go underneath the gate. It's just like the perfect vibe. Yeah, it's not a musical, so I think that kind of hurts its memorability. Why can't I say memorability?
Happens, man.
Why can't I say it?
I don't know. I have the same problem too, and I'm like, dude, what's wrong with me?
What is wrong with me? But anyway, yeah, it's an extremely good movie. Let's start from the top in terms of like who the characters are, because there's not a lot of characters, but the characters are all quite memorable in their own little right, I guess.
Right. You start with Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch. Let's talk about Lilo first, actually, because
I'm gonna drive people nuts.
I'm gonna drive myself nuts. Lilo she's a misfit. It's actually really difficult to watch the beginning of this movie. It's difficult to watch a large portion of this movie because of the predicament that Lilo and her sister Nani are in, which is Lilo is falling through the cracks of society, and Nani is trying to keep her afloat while also holding down the fort as an only mom, even though she's not even a mom. She's the sister.
Right. She's pretty much, she's taken on guardianship of Lilo, which I don't remember. Do they even go over what happened with the parents? I don't know if that passed me by.
They briefly did. Lilo is showing Stitch a picture of their family, and she basically says that her parents took a drive in the rain, and it's just kind of implied that they crashed and died.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's right. I remember that. Now that you mention it, I remember it. I don't know why that slipped my mind.
I literally just watched this right before we recorded, so it's fresh in my mind. I know you watched a day ago, but yeah, come on, Ant, get with it. Lilo and Stitch here. Let's do this.
Oh, is it? I mean, my memory is pretty much intact as far as this, because we are calling it Lilo and Stitch. So yeah, I mean, of course I'm gonna remember something quick like that.
Lilo is just kind of getting into all sorts of trouble. She's a troubled child. She obviously has a lot of emotional baggage that she carries with her every day. Even though she's also just a kid trying to make friends, trying to fit in, but she marches to the beat of her own drum, like everything she does is very Lilo, and
right.
That doesn't always work out for everyone around her. The drama behind the scenes is that this guy Cobra Bubbles, he's like a child protective. Yeah,
I love his name so much.
Cobra Bubbles, Mr. Bubbles.
And it's just like this giant brawny guy, and his last name is Bubbles.
Yeah,
and Cobra Bubbles, such a awesome name.
I also like that Cobra Bubbles, he introduces himself as Mr. Bubbles, and Lilo immediately notices that he has Cobra on his knuckles. Just Cobra. It's a great name. But anyway, the background of what's going on is that Cobra Bubbles comes to basically see if this kid is being taken care of properly. And because Lilo is who she is, and Nani is, trying to keep everything together and also keep a job down and everything, she's struggling. She's clearly not a full adult. She's probably in her late teens at this point.
Yeah, I think she's 18.
It seems that way, yeah. So she's new to the whole parenting thing. Because of everything, their broken family is just falling apart day after day, and the functionality within the household is just going to crap, basically. There's a whole bunch of safety hazards within the house that are worrisome. She can't hold the job down for X number of reasons. And Cobra Bubbles basically gives her 3 days to fix whatever's going on with Lilo. And you really do feel for Lilo, because everyone's felt lonely. Everyone's felt lost, and everyone's been the misfit at some point or another. So what's amazing is that it's like a believable animation, in the sense that you don't question that this is a real thing, even though it's fake. It's animated. These characters don't exist. The way that it's animated, the way that this character Lilo is acting out, the way that she kind of curls into her own self is all very real. It's very human, and deep down,
it could happen.
Oh yeah, and it happens every day, and it's
right. I mean, obviously, some circumstances in the film aren't real.
Yes,
but the whole child protective services and siblings taking care of their younger siblings, and them being taken away, that stuff, is very real. And there is, it's not something that you and I may personally have experienced, but it's something that you can kind of extend your heart out to. You feel it, you feel you understand that it's a tough situation, and that you wouldn't want somebody who has a good heart, and somebody who obviously cares about her sister, would want, that she should go through that. You don't want that.
And then you have the other extreme, Stitch, Experiment 626. Somewhere deep in, Galactic Alien Federation. I don't even remember what the Galactic Federation was called. I just know that the words Galactic and Federation were in there. There is an alien organization of many different species that are very...
It's the Disney Covenant.
Yeah, basically. They
like from Halo.
They have a whole bunch of different species, but they're very law-abiding individuals, and that kind of governs everything that they do. So when one of their alien scientists kind of creates a genetic experiment, something that's illegal, they obviously throw him in prison and take Stitch away to... I don't even know where they were taking him. I'm assuming they were taking him to some sort of prison or something. I don't even know. It kind of seemed that they were going to exterminate him, but then they didn't. So I really don't know what was going on there. But Stitch gets away.
Well, I mean, he escapes, so...
Yeah.
We don't really know the end of that,
Yeah, we don't know what they were originally planning for Stitch, because as a genetic experiment, an illegal genetic experiment, I know Captain Gantu basically, like, he says that it should be, like, eradicated, or it should be, like, destroyed on the spot, like when Stitch is first introduced to the film. But anyway, Stitch is he breaks free. He steals a police Corvette ship thing and travels to a planet with a whole bunch of water around it. And I love the scene where they show that he's heading toward a planet full of water, and they're like, oh, okay, he'll die, because he can't swim. And then as it zooms in on like where he's going, it just shows this tiny little island chain in the middle of all this blue, and they're like, you could see the face on the Grand Councilwoman's face change from like acceptance that he's going to die to like total disbelief that he somehow managed to find land and all that ocean.
It's like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible?
Yes, exactly. And there's a whole bunch of that in this movie. And so basically they send Jumbo Jukiba, that was the crazy scientist guy, and Pleakley.
Right. Well, the creator of Stitch.
Yeah, because who would know Stitch better than the creator himself? So, and they also send Pleakley to basically capture him. And I love this running commentary throughout the film that the reason they can't just blow up the planet or do anything like that is because mosquitoes were an endangered species.
Dude.
I wish they were an endangered species.
Dude. Because of bubbles.
All because of bubbles.
Oh my gosh, he saved the planet. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I was like, oh my gosh, of like all creatures that he could have picked to be an endangered species, mosquitoes.
Yeah, I have no idea. Man, I love Pleakley's like excitement to like show everybody what the, like, whenever he talks about the mosquitoes or like life on Earth, he has to show them like that little, it looks like a binocular with like images inside of it that kind of like he can flip between. He loves shoving that in people's face.
That, like, what was it,
I know that has a name.
I think it's called like a kaleidoscope or something, or like, but I know it's like an old toy. Like,
yes.
We had it when we were kids.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it had the slides. You click through the slides, and yeah, it's like a little like binocular. Yeah. Dude, I thought when he brought that out, I died laughing. I was like, oh my gosh, not him like really like getting excited over this thing. Like a toss away toy that we all had.
On Earth, in Hawaii, Stitch basically, after getting ran over by a couple trucks, by the way, popping at least 16 tires along the way, he's brought to an animal shelter, which is where like Nani, she's trying to like get things right with Lilo. She brings her to the animal shelter. Right. Why don't you choose a dog so that we can try to like get some normality in our lives.
Right. Well, she knows that like Lilo feels lonely, so it's like maybe a pet will help kind of alleviate some of that loneliness.
And we know earlier in the film that she was kind of going crazy from loneliness. Like she was late to her hula class.
Yes.
Because
she loved taking, dude, the pictures that she would take is freaking hilarious. And she's like, I love them, you know?
They're beautiful.
Yes.
She would just go, she'd just be on the beach taking pictures of fat people. Like, specifically fat
like
tourists. Yeah, fat tourists.
Dude, when I saw the pictures on the wall, I started laughing. I was like, dude, this is awesome. She's like, they're beautiful. Dude, and it's so many on the wall. And she like gives Nani she had like her camera was full again. Like,
yeah,
her dude, like back when film was like really, I know film still exists, but like when that's all we really had was film.
Yeah, getting pictures developed was fun. You know, like it was fun to go to the store and see what you got.
1 hour photo.
Yeah, basically. So what else? She also like would take her sandwich to feed it to like a peanut butter and jelly to like her, like that fish in the water. So like,
yes, and she had like a whole explanation. Like,
yeah, he controls the weather. It's the weather. Dude, it's the weathering so with funny. You, fish.
He controls global warming.
So I think that's actually like why Nani decided it might be a good idea to get a dog or like a normal pet, so that she isn't doing crazy stuff like that. It turns out that the dog that she gets is Stitch, and all she does for the rest of the movie is crazy stuff because
because it's not a normal pet.
Not at all. Not at all.
One that like right off the bat, she's like, "I want to," because he like speaks to her.
How?
Dude, I love Stitch's voice because it is very like that very like throaty like
guttural.
Like, yeah, like ohana, you know, like
it is fun. Yeah, it's a fun character to voice.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a fun film to make, and I think it was that was Disney's first foray into like the Polynesian culture a little bit, right? But like it was like modern day, whereas Mohana is like, you know, a little bit more ancestral.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Polynesian culture, because it's kind of whenever I see Hollywood depicted in, or whenever I see Hawaii depicted in Hollywood, it's either Polynesian era like Moana, or more you know, regularly like how Hawaii is now, which is, it's a very colonized state. You know, you still have a lot of the original culture of the Polynesian people and the Hawaiians, but because of tourism, because of the colonization, a lot of the typical Hawaiian traditions, like the hula dancing, the tiki stuff, all that typical stuff, the luau's, all of that,
fire juggling,
fire juggling, that's all done for tourism purposes now, right. which it makes me kind of sad when I think about like that's just a culture that has been kind of abducted for, abducted is probably a strong word, but it has actually been appropriated to an extent where most Americans only see and view Hawaiian culture as something touristy and something to enjoy as a show, you know, and it's kind of it's sad in that respect.
Right, when in reality their culture is like, you know, very much so like, you know how like the Native Americans, they have their own cultures, their own beliefs, their own, you know, their own ancestry, the things that they believe, you know, like there's a lot of that yeah, you're right, it is kind of, you know, washed out a little bit because of tourism, and yeah, I do agree that it is sad in that kind of sense, because, you know, with you know, Native Americans, there might be some stuff that like that you know, they might have some touristy stuff that people enjoy. I do feel like they are afforded to like have their own like privacy, and that their stuff hasn't really been taken away from them in that kind of sense. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not.
You're not the expert. I understand, but no, I see what you're
Absolutely,
saying. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I kind of agree with you to a certain extent. But when it comes to like Lilo, or should I say Lilo and Stitch, they do kind of comment on that a little bit. Like fake Hawaiian culture in, I guess, the 21st century. I mean, it was 2002, so I'm assuming this was around maybe like late 90s, early 2000s. Anyway, right around the turn of the century.
Was in a timely manner.
Yeah.
I think it was about the time, yeah.
So, like, contemporary Hawaiian culture versus tourism Hawaiian culture, they kind of have that balance where, like, you have characters like Nani and David who work at a luau for tourists. Like they put on costumes and they perform as like David is a fire juggler. He spits fire. He's constantly getting on fire apparently, and Nani is a luau dancer, and she is fired from the job because of something to do with Stitch. But when she leaves, she kind of quits and said, I don't want to do this like fake or fakey Hawaiian or fakey luau something. Basically, she was saying like it's not real. It's all
right.
A show basically. And then the rest of the movie, you actually have what I'm presuming is a more typical, modern day Hawaiian vibe, I guess, for one of the smaller islands. So they do have like their recreation, which was surfing. I don't know how many people in Hawaii actually do surf, but I assume that it is a pretty regular thing in Hawaii to do something like that. So that was it kind of contrasted like what the fake Hawaiian or like what the touristy Hawaiian stuff is versus what actual Hawaiians do on a regular basis nowadays. And I thought that was an interesting juxtaposition. I don't think it was necessarily a critique of how America has kind of touristified Hawaiian culture, but it definitely existed within the movie.
Right. No. There's definitely a lot being told in this film, and it really is, like going back and like I said, watching it was really it was interesting because it's like, man, like this is not something that seems like it's in a normal rotation. Even though you see Stitch everywhere, you feel like Lilo and Stitch is not spoken about that much. So something that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and it has something to do about the time that this film came out. Did you know that so there was a couple scenes in this movie that were changed? I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, but you can continue.
Okay.
I will be a dutiful listener and let you express what you need to express.
So something that I found very interesting about this movie was that there were a couple scenes, but one very major scene that was changed in this film. And that scene is towards the end of the film. There's the spaceship chase that's going on where they're trying to save Lilo because Lilo and Stitch were taken, but Stitch was able to escape. And so originally it was that Stitch hijacked an airplane, and that they were chasing down the other ship and they took some damage, and that this plane was flying through a city.
Yeah, Honolulu.
Like kind of Honolulu, kind of like busting through buildings a little bit and stuff. And well, this movie was being made around it was in 2001. What happened in 2001? We had 9/11.
Yeah.
So they changed that scene for it, so the modern day, now it's a spaceship and they're kind of going through these mountains because of it was very sensitive. It was very sensitive at the time. You're not gonna have, obviously Disney's not gonna have a movie come out where there's a plane that's flying through a city. Like, I think that change was very smart for them.
Oh, 100%.
Because that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
That would have been insane for that to come out like the following year. Like, hey, I know this happened, but we've been working on this film. We got a plane flying through a city.
It wasn't even a year later. This came out in June 16th.
Yeah, in June. Yeah.
So
like, just like maybe
9 months.
Was it June,
9
July,
months,
August, September? Yeah, dude. Like, but still, it's not even a full year.
Oh yeah, and
Still, you know, we're still feeling the sting of what what happened in 9/11, and so yeah, no, dude, that would have been insane, dude. Like like they have the scene, you can see the scene.
Yeah, you can see
if you
it.
look it up on YouTube, you can see the scene that they replaced it, and I'm actually glad that it was preserved enough to see like how much of how much changed.
Yeah, because that could very easily be lost media at this point. You know, like Disney could have very easily just buried that and just said, you know, that never happened. Nope.
Right. But the thing is that honestly, like it wasn't, you know, it wasn't in poor taste because, you know, I'm pretty sure that when they were working on the scene, 9/11 hadn't occurred. So they were putting a whole bunch of work. So obviously, you know, so the fact that there was that much respect to change that scene to what it is, and it still works. It still works very well. It's a very good movie. You know, it puts a point. It puts the point across anyway. Like you get the gist of what's happening. So
but
I really do.
You know what's interesting about that is that basically what ended up happening in the original movie was that Captain Gantu's ship, you know, takes Lilo and Stitch, and then Stitch breaks out and steals a 747, and that's why when the ship comes like behind them or behind Gantu's ship, it's so much bigger because you have to kind of think like Jumba and Pleakley's ship wouldn't normally be that big, or they would have no reason for it to be that large. Because like Captain Gantu is a big guy. He's bigger than both of those two characters combined. So why would they need such a huge ship? It's because they were trying to like mask over a 747 that they had animated, basically.
right. And then they like animated mountains over a city. But yeah, and then there's like another minor scene that was replaced, and it was a scene where Lilo, she's like hiding in a cupboard, and Nani tricks her into coming out of the cupboard. Originally that was supposed to be a dryer, and they changed it because they didn't want kids to replicate that.
Yes, it's smart not to get in dryers. Kids don't do it. If we have any kids listening, don't eat Tide Pods. Don't get in dryers. You know,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It may sound like it's fun. Just don't.
It's not a good time. Thank you for bringing that up. I wasn't sure if I was going to necessarily bring that up just because it's not in the movie per se, but it is an important aspect. It's an important aspect of like the making of the movie and how it was ultimately received, because if that had come out in its original state, there would have been backlash.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There would have been...
Well, I think it was important because I mean, we wouldn't be doing our jobs as, you know, project geekologists or geekologists if we did not bring up, because it is a very significant change. That ending is a very significant
100%.
change, and when I heard about it, I was like, wow, like it's so crazy. Like the dynamic of the movie would have been so much different had it been the other way around, and obviously it would have stuck, you know, had 9/11 not happened. But the fact that they were able to make that change and get it out the following year it's definitely like a huge feat, because I'm pretty sure it took a lot of work.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, it's only for like maybe 5 minutes, but that's a lot of animation, you know? But when
the original, dude, there's so many buildings.
I know.
And they're kind of crashing through. Yeah, dude,
it must have been terrifying for the people working. I mean, 9/11 was just terrifying in general, but the people working on this film, imagine like your big final, you know, climactic battle scene happens with a plane going through the like buildings in a city, and then you find out that 9/11 happens, and like that sinking feeling they must have gotten, the animators, when they realized, oh crap, there's no way we can release what we've done.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's probably like, oh, there's no way. There's like, we're gonna have to change this. We're gonna have to change this. Yeah. No, but like I said, man, the change was necessary. Is almost like pretty much seamless. Yeah, and it worked out in the end. It didn't impact the quality of the film. So
I would say almost seamless.
Well, you did say that the size discrepancy
is kind of weird.
The ship.
Is a little weird.
It is pretty massive. I'm like,
because
he would. Was it Captain Gato would be the one flying that ship, and then flying the other one,
and the fact that like Jumba and Pleakley just hid that massive ship in some bushes is insane. That's just pure insanity.
They dug a hole in the ground,
So
we have to suspend disbelief, Dakota.
Yeah, we have to. But when it comes to like the switch from a dryer, like a drying machine, to the cupboard, I noticed that one pretty significantly. Like it just looks.
I did too.
It's a different animation style.
It looks like a door.
Yes,
but then it's like a box.
It's like
top,
a pizza. It's like a pizza box.
Yeah,
it's a really weird thing that I'm sure they could have come up with something better. But whatever, I'm not gonna complain. What I love about Lilo and Stitch, just as characters, is that they're both lost. They're both tremendously lost characters, and they kind of parallel this with Stitch finding that book, The Ugly Duckling, of the small duck crying that he's lost, and then the next panel has him happily with his family reunited. And basically like this whole theme of ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten, is extremely just it's a super memorable and extremely profound for all of these characters that are involved in it. And the phrase touches each one, including Nani, in different ways, and for Stitch, it's he has no belonging beyond destruction.
Right.
And I think that he realizes that if he just goes by his base programming that Jumba gave him, he's not going to find any like happiness beyond that initial thrill of destruction. So when he finds Lilo, and he kind of, I think he realizes that Lilo is kind of in a similar position where she's lost as well. He realizes after a certain point that Lilo and Nani are in a very desperate situation, like a dire situation, where they're a literal broken family. They're about to be broken up even more, and he's to blame for a good portion of why Lilo is being taken from Nani. And that whole thing kind of coalesces into him, I guess, humbling himself to a point where he realizes that what he can find here with family is so much more important than what he was necessarily made for, I guess.
Right.
It's a really cool notion, I guess.
Yeah, I do like I do like the family dynamic in this one, because it shows that. And there's a bunch of Disney films that'll display that having a family isn't always perfect. There's gonna be some ugliness, but there's definitely something different about this sister dynamic than you get with like Anna and Elsa.
Right.
Them two, they're different people, and there is a bit of a rift there. But this dynamic is different, where it's an older sister that's taking care of a younger sister. And so this is a sister that's in a motherly role, and she wants nothing but the best for her little sister, but her little sister is lost, and that feeling of brokenness because of the home, and unresolved feelings of the loss of their parents. It is something that I feel like it was like an important story to tell, as far as like a Disney story, because it is a very true story. While they added, there's a whole crazy mix that is in it, but there is the story of found family that is incorporated in that also with Stitch, and I love that story is told. So there is a lot of endearing and just heartwarming moments in this film that really, like you said, they tug at your heart, and it's so good, man. It's such a good movie.
One of my favorite scenes, just to like jump around a little bit, one of my favorite scenes is when Lilo like comes in late to the luau dance or luau lessons, and she's all wet, so the whole stage is dripping, and her classmate Myrtle slips. And what does she say to Lilo? Basically, she like calls her a freak or something, and Lilo doesn't even think. She just resorts to straight violence. She just starts beating on this girl like it's nothing, and it's really funny to watch. But then when you get to learn like what Lilo is going through, like on a much deeper level, you realize that she's broken on the inside, and she's not thinking. She's just retaliating like an animal backed into a corner. It's a really strong movie, man. I'm happy we covered this, and whenever I watch it, I'm amazed at, like, you know, like you said, like, this is a fictional story, but there's a lot of truth to it, you know, like everyone can see themselves in someone in this movie, you know, whether it's David trying to help someone. David's clearly trying to help this family, you know, get its stuff together. Then you have Nani, who's personally trying to, you know, get their family in line, even though it seems like a losing battle. Then you have Lilo, who is just totally lost. You know, she's alone. She has no friends. She's even like praying like to falling stars to like send an angel to, like, you know, there's that scene where like she's kind of praying like, please send me a friend, you know, just a single friend. That's all she wants. Your best angel or something like that. And it's
right, and that's actually an interesting scene, because that's that star that landed was Stitch.
Yes, so she got her angel, even though it wasn't necessarily the one that she necessarily asked for.
Absolutely, like, chaotic. I mean, the line, the line between them was the fact that Stitch was not a human and Lilo was a human, but they were practically like the same being.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I like that you put it that way, because they're both in the same position. You know, they're both lost individuals. They're both broken. They're both wild animals pushed into a corner, basically.
Yeah.
But I love the juxtaposition of send me one of your best angels, and then the very next shot is Stitch like coming out of the crater, like, yeah, you know, like all crazy and manic, and looks like he's about to cause some serious evil, and then he like shoves a gun into a frog's face.
Dude, yeah, I love that moment, and just like the frog just not fazed by what's happening.
Yeah, love that.
And then he gets run over. It's that moment that he just gets run over by so many tires.
Oh man. I like how it's resolved too. Let's wrap this up a little bit, but I like how the movie is resolved in the sense that when in the beginning, when Stitch is introduced, he's given an opportunity to speak for himself, like within like the Galactic Federation Council, whatever, and he just curses everyone out, and it's kind of a funny scene because it's a fake curse, but like if you look at the characters in the background, you see like a robot like vomiting up bolts and stuff, like. it's really fun animation.
They're like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
And like he speaks that same language like throughout the movie, and you don't know what he's saying, but like everybody else, all the like alien characters like know what he's saying, and they're like, oh my gosh, like don't speak to me like that, you know?
Yeah, I didn't teach him that. and by the end, he is very polite as the councilwoman is like escorting him onto the ship, and he's like, can I say goodbye? And she goes, yes. And he goes, thank you. And you know, that's when he has that moment with Lilo and Nani, and that is kind of the turning point for the councilwoman wanting to imprison him, because he's now changed from just a vicious demon little offspring thing to something who is polite, caring, and wants to be loved, you know? And I think that that's a cool way, or it's a really cool arc for the movie to take.
Yeah. There's this it's like a growth moment for those characters too, because it's like, you know, here's this creature, and you know, a creature that we didn't even think could learn to be civil or anything other than what it was designed to be, is showing that it could be so much more.
I also really liked Cobra Bubbles as a character. He's kind of an antagonist for a good portion of the movie because you don't want him to come back and see all the mess that Stitch and Lilo are causing, or the fact that Nani's out of a job. But whenever he shows up, it's like, oh, this is the worst time for you to be here.
Yes, he would always show up at like the most inopportune times.
But he genuinely cared for Lilo.
Yes.
And that's
yes.
kind of where I stand. Like, I like him as a character because he wants what's best for the child.
Right. Like, these child protective service individuals, whenever I see them on screen, they're always like very kind of like cold, or they're like, callous, and don't seem to really care too much about the individual outside of like maybe the child. But even if they're not really like looking at the child, they're just like, okay, this person doesn't seem like they know how to take care of a kid, I'm just gonna take them, whatever, all willy-nilly. But like he is obviously doing it, and he wants to look out for Lilo, but he's also trying to give Nani the benefit of the doubt, like, I'm gonna let you try to get yourself together. He kind of doesn't want to take her away, but
he gives her like 5 chances, like,
dude, he really does.
He does give her a lot.
So he's almost like an anti-hero antagonist. Like, but yeah, and then in the end, like he ends up allowing them to stay together, and then you reveal that he knows about all of this because he's like former CIA.
Yeah, it's a fantastic little twist.
Yeah. It's like It's like 1973. You had hair.
Whenever I watch this, it makes me want to go back and watch the Lilo and Stitch series.
Dude, I kind of wanted to.
Right?
I was literally just thinking about that too, because I remember that series
and all these characters.
Episodes.
I mean, yeah, it was fun. I don't know if it's any good because I was a kid at the time, but I'm interested, and I know it's all on Disney Plus, so maybe I'll give it a shot at some point. But thank you guys for listening to us here for our 76th episode of Project Geekology. Lilo and Stitch, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our coverage of this classic Disney movie. Please let us know your thoughts on it. Do you like Lilo and Stitch? Do you prefer to call it Lilo and Stitch, as it's more, as like the normies call it?
Do you retweet if you want Dakota to make a Lilo and Stitch timeline?
Oh God, no. Oh God. Anyway, guys,
we're gonna have thousands of retweets.
Oh no. Guys, thanks so much for listening to us here for our 76th episode. If you want to check us out on our socials, you can find us in the show notes down below. All of our links are there, not just for the podcast itself, but our individual socials as well. Please get in contact with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ohana.